You're listening to the Dirty Air Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Dirty Air Podcast here on NASCAR.com. We are live in the NASCAR.com studios outside of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, joined today by Regan Smith, Jonathan Merriman. I'm Chuck Bush. We got a big show for you today. We're going to recap the Daytona 500, where Regan, you finished 8th, so I think that makes you the highest finishing NASCAR.com analyst in history.
A big thing to hold to, highest in history. I mean,
Indeed.
That's a record that I don't ever want to give up.
I don't want you to. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at our fantasy rosters from last week. We're also going to look ahead to Atlanta. We got a new rules package, but big news for a Wednesday. Somebody's making a switch.
A Wednesday on the first week of the season. If this is how the season starts with this news, imagine what's going to happen when we get halfway through the year.
Well, let's tell them what it is. That would be Stewart-Haas switching to Ford in 2017. I mean, it's kind of blowing my mind.
Can we just let that sink in for just a second?
Say it one more time.
Tony Stewart's team that he co-owns will be switching to Ford. They will be driving Fusions in 2017 with motors provided by Roush Yates.
I can't even, I can't imagine that just happened. I mean, I think we saw a tweet earlier where somebody said, "Is it April 1st? Are we messed up?"
Brendan Gaughan tweeted out earlier, "Is it April Fool's? Did we miss this? I need to wake up."
That is huge news on a lot of levels. You look at the relationship that Stewart-Haas has with Hendrick and Chevy, Tony Stewart's relationship with Chevy, seemingly leaving Joe Gibbs Racing at one point because of the Toyota switch to get back to Chevy. And now this takes place. Now, given Tony won't be in the car next year, so maybe, I know they're saying that had nothing to do with it, but who knows? Maybe that's got a little something to do with it.
Think of how much stuff they've had go on, from Clint Boyer announcement to Tony's retirement to Tony's injury to now a major manufacturer change. There are a lot of moving pieces at Stewart-Haas
They're just
Racing.
trying to take over our entire show. That's what it is. All this stuff, they're trying to just say, hey, just talk about us the whole time because we're putting all the storylines out there.
And Tony won 2 championships. Well, Stewart-Haas won 2 championships with Chevrolet. So, I mean, this is a big deal.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that I'm kind of taking away from this is, how do you keep this a secret? Like, nobody really knew about this.
There's no secrets in NASCAR anymore, right? I mean, seemingly, we were having this discussion before we got on air. How did they, with that many moving parts and pieces, with that many drivers, agents, attorneys, who knows what involved, how did they keep it that quiet? Kudos to them for doing it. I think it's cool when there's surprises like this. It's great. It's great. People hop on Twitter and they might be on their lunch break and say, "Whoa, we didn't know about that." Or everything is a rumor now that kind of starts it off. And then 2 weeks after the rumor, we come out and say, "Oh, okay, it happened. Yeah, that's what's going on." Well, everybody already knew at that point. This, nobody knew.
Well, you know what wasn't a rumor? Daytona 500. Closest finish in Daytona 500 history. Speed Week's now in the books. Looking back at the past, I guess, 2 weeks of racing, Regan, you were in the duels. We talked about it before the last podcast. You said the headline would be historic finish in the Daytona 500. Looking back to
I don't want to hurt my arm, but let me get my shoulder and pat my back there.
I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
Dude,
I was looking for a little help, and you just left me hanging over here.
You're not going to pat us back? Anyway, the Daytona 500, historic finish.
I did say Denny would win also.
This is, man, he's just like 2 for 2 on this.
Ooh, nothing like coming out of the blocks hot, right? Start of the season.
Got to do
So
it.
you guys, you were there. You finished 8th. You're pushing water at the end. It's the Daytona 500. What do you got? Like, what's going through your mind right there at the end?
Well, from my perspective, basically we push water from 12 to go until the finish of the race. And Daytona 500, you're not getting out of the pack. They came on my radio at one point. I heard, and I don't know if it was my spotter or Tommy. I'm still learning voices and trying to decipher who's who. And somebody came on the radio and said, "Hey, check your water temps." Well, I'm in the middle of 3 wide with 10 to go now at this point in Daytona. It doesn't really matter what my water temps are. Yeah, I see the steam blowing off. Yeah, I see my tack flashing at me and doing all this stuff. But when you get down to the end of that race, you wanna go, and you're not gonna stop. And what a race it was. I mean, I didn't have a good viewpoint from where I was sitting because we were all so tightly packed together. To see the move that Denny made, I watched it later on, and what a great move. I mean, that's all you can say about that is he made a great move. And as his words say, he was trying to actually just hold off the 4 car to let Kenseth have a shot at the win. Maybe Kenseth made a little mistake going up as high as he did. Maybe he didn't. That's tough to judge when you're not sitting in the seat and in the car. But kudos to Denny.
Kenseth made a heck of a save to not wreck the field coming to the checkered. I mean, I was amazed by Denny's move, but Kenseth was sawing the wheel.
It was dangerously close to a big wreck right there, and I think the drivers all kind of came out after the race and on social media and kind of made a point to say, hey, good race, clean race, one of the best 500s we have ever seen. I mean, that 500 is going to go down in history between the stadium and the whole week, the weather being so nice, the whole atmosphere around it. That is going to be one that we look at 20 years from now and we kind of pick out and say, hey, that was a big moment.
It was a big moment, and you heard Martin Truex Jr. say in the media center after it that he's going to have to watch that finish for the rest of his career.
He's the new Mark Martin.
He's the new Mark Martin, and you know what? That's not something to hang your head about. You can hang your hat on that.
I think there's a lot of guys that would love to be the new Mark Martin right now.
Hey,
there's 38 like other drivers in the field that would rather have been second than wherever they finished.
Would you have doored Denny?
Well, again, it's tough to say when you're not sitting in the car and you're not experiencing the air and what's going on with the momentum. I would say that Martin felt like he had the momentum until the last second when Denny, was able to get down on the side of him and side draft him that one last time. Martin had the momentum. He had that race won. Sometimes it's just a timing thing. If those cars are going back and forth, and you don't time it just right, you can't do much about that. So to say I would have doored him, I don't know. If he runs them up high enough, if they make enough contact as he doors them and they go up the track some, which they're going to naturally do, the 18 car may pass them both and have a huge run. So I don't think you can really look at anything that he did either and say he did it wrong, other than the fact that he got beat. That's the only thing you can say that was wrong.
I would say that you doored me on the final lap, but you pretty much led the whole race in our fantasy league. So Regan Smith got the win. Jonathan Merriman, where did you finish?
I ended up fifth, but I had Kenseth.
Here comes the excuses.
No, I had Kenseth in my lineup, and he was my pick, and I thought he was going to be strong in the backup car, and he was. We released a piece on NASCAR.com, the Daytona 499. Well, Kenseth won it. He didn't get the 500, but he won the 499. But, I was this close to being up there.
Every time I've looked, it's a 500-mile race, so just throwing that out there.
Well, I had Dale Earnhardt Jr., I had Martin Truex, I had Denny Hamlin, and I had Regan Smith. That $10 value pick paid off.
I felt good about where we were at once we got through Thursday. I know when we taped the last time, it was on a Wednesday and hadn't run the race, but my car had speed, and I didn't want to do it, but I put myself on my own fantasy team, and that's where some of the points came from. Between that and the McDowell pick, that definitely helped out. The junior pick caught everybody off guard, and kind of surprised by all of Hendrick down there that none of those cars actually raced better than what they did. You can tell that they were obviously trimmed out and had not counted on the weather being quite as big of a factor as what it was, and the handling being as big of a factor.
Well, looking ahead towards Atlanta, who are you taking for your fantasy pick in Atlanta, knowing that we've got a new rules package coming down? Who are you looking at in Atlanta? Jonathan? I see you looking at your computer right now.
Kyle Larson Kyle Larson's gonna be big in Atlanta. Low downforce package. That's what everybody's gonna be talking about. That kid likes to drive sideways. So, my gut tells me Kyle Larson's going to finish well.
Now, he's not your value pick, though?
He's not my value pick. I haven't changed that yet. I had Chris Buescher at the plate tracks. I was just, no offense, just trying to be a little diverse. We can't all be homers here.
We see where you are on the points now, too, so you're playing catch up from the start.
You smell that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I got burnt.
You burnt?
It's okay.
I have to agree with you. I think Larson definitely, with the low downforce package, with his ability to run up high, I think the high line at a lot of tracks is going to be a big factor this year now, as we saw at Kentucky last year, and that's going to only play right to his hand. Anytime you're sideways with the race cars, tires wearing out, that seems to be kind of his specialty, and I think he's one of those guys sitting here licking his chops that we made this rule change going into this season. For my pick, I'm gonna stick with the Penske guys. I liked what I saw out of them last year on these two races. Brad and Joey both, just purely because of how he ran there last year. I'm going to pick Joey as my kind of lock pick, but I definitely think you're good with Larson too.
I also couldn't afford you last week. I have $1 left, and Busher was $7.50, but also Ryan Blaney, like you talked about Penske, he's sitting at $16 NASCAR Fantasy Live. So
I think I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr. I think that second place finish last week kind of pissed him off. I think he's going to go lit a fire, and they got that partnership. They called him their adoptive teammate. So I think you're going to see that fast Toyota get to victory lane in Atlanta. My sleeper pick, I don't know. I think Ryan Blaney. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with Ryan Blaney. But we have on NASCAR.com. We had earlier in the year, Chris Rice and Jonathan Merriman talked about the new rules package at Atlanta, so you can go check that out. I believe you are posting a video today.
We have a tech talk coming out today about grill tape and why that's so important at Atlanta and why they place the tape from left to right to essentially create downforce and side force. It's going to be slick out there. And Atlanta's had great finishes in the past. Harvick Gordon sticks out in my mind. So we could even see a close finish.
Atlanta naturally has been one of the best tracks to race at. Just the way that asphalt has matured and the way that it's kind of lost its grip. And it's when you look at that asphalt, it's like looking at your carpet. It's so rough. And a lot of places we go, it's more like looking at your kitchen table where it's really smooth. Atlanta is like carpet, and it chews the tires up immediately. So even with a high downforce or a low downforce package, the place is slippery. Now throw the low downforce onto there, and it's who knows what this race is going to look like. And new tire compound, I'm not sure if they softened it or hardened it, what they did with the tire compound, but a new tire compound, that's going to throw a little bit of a curveball. One last thing, we're right now looking at 60-degree plus weather at Atlanta with the sun out. Last year, it was cold.
It was cold.
It was rainy. It was gloomy.
So
Hot Atlanta.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I feel like when I go, because I'm not going to the track this weekend, when I log on to NASCAR Race View and listen to the scanners on there, I feel like after the first 3 or 4 laps after a restart, we're going to hear loose, can't drive it, it's loose. And that's what I want to see.
We are going to whine like babies.
Yeah.
Every single one. I don't know if I'd want to be on the scanners. It's going to be that bad. And we'll be cussing at the crew chiefs, and we're going to have to put disclaimers before the start of the race. Like, hey, anything said on here, we can't get in trouble for it, or I don't know what we would put. But definitely look for some worn out, unhappy drivers after this race, and worn out being the biggest one. That's a long race anyways. And if you're fighting your car and you're slinging it sideways, it's going to be really long.
If you've got that, to me, if you have a driver like that after a race, to me, that's sort of the sign that it was a good race.
Oh, I agree.
Now, I have this other question that I want to ask you. We've got a lot of new things going on this year. We were talking about it before the show. You've got this new package for Atlanta and the intermediate tracks, but you also had the digital dash, and Daytona was the first time that a lot of folks have used it. What was your experience with that digital dash?
It was good. So, to kind of preface that just a little bit, a lot of teams ran that last year. Most teams or drivers ran it 3 times last year. They worked with it some. They started trying to get some of the bugs out of it. So there are different options of what you can put on that dash that were already kind of built, and guys knew what other guys had. There's kind of like base layers that you can start with. Everybody from that base layer point can put whatever they want on there. They can change it however they want to change it. For me, I hadn't even seen it yet. That was my first experience with it, was, practice on last Saturday for qualifying. And then when we started the race on Thursday, we had to work a lot on mine. I went to the shop. We worked on it before we got to Daytona. We had to continue working on it at Daytona. When all was said and done, I actually prefer that to the old school tacks that we used. And for whatever reason, I was able to set mine to where it grabbed the attention of my eyes. And as the steam was blowing out of my car, I saw the light flashing red telling me it was too hot. But everything kind of, it's a little bit more bold. It's a little bit more crisp, and it grabs your attention better. So I'm excited about that. The channels that we can add to it are going to be pretty cool. As this thing grows and as it builds, the things that we can do outside of just the water temperature, oil temperature, RPM, and stuff like that's going to be really interesting for the fans, I think.
In-car cameras at Daytona, I mean, the view of the digital dash was perfect.
You can see them now.
You can see, you could see the old school tacks, but the different layout. I mean, it's just interesting to me. Like, oh, this is Biffle's view, this is Regan's view. You could kind of see the difference, and it was crystal clear on the TV.
I'm kind of curious. With that being said, I'm curious if the teams are going to have to be a little bit more strategic about when they take an in-car camera and where they place that in-car camera over the driver's shoulders and stuff like that. That may evolve that a little bit. They may think that there's something on that dashboard they don't want other teams seeing. And now that it is so clear, the old tax, you couldn't see them hardly. You could see them, but you couldn't read numbers. You couldn't pick out anything that was relevant. That may be something that we watch as it goes down the road that evolves a little bit.
Got to keep up with the technology.
I think it's awesome. Like, seeing all that stuff was cool. I mean, like you said, it's like we're in sort of the video game generation where everybody can kind of customize their stuff when you're playing a video game. Yep. This works best for me. This works best for like, I like this layout. So it seems like that's kind of the way it's going. Real quick, into Atlanta with all this new stuff going on, and then with the Stewart-Haas, Ty Dillon going to be in the car in Atlanta for Tony Stewart. What is going to be your headline coming out of Atlanta? So see if you can go 2 for 2 with headlines.
Whoa, headline out of Atlanta.
On the spot.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot on that one for sure. I think the headline is going to be strictly the aero package. I think we're going to leave there, and that's what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the week is the aero package and the struggles that guys had with it at Atlanta. I don't know that necessarily we'll see guys spin out by themselves, but we could have potential to see wrecks of really good race car drivers just spinning out for no reason. And I think that's, when it's all said and done, that's going to be the headline, I think.
Loose is lucrative for Larson.
Alliteration. Oh man,
I got to step up my headline game here. Holy smokes.
I'm sitting here. How about this one? Harvick doesn't see a squirrel.
Are you going to Atlanta?
I'm not going to Atlanta, so we won't see a squirrel.
He's safe.
Yeah, he's safe. Well, that'll do it this week for us here on the Dirty Air Podcast. Be sure to go to NASCAR.com. Check out all the news that is going to happen this weekend. There's a lot going on. For everybody here, Jonathan Merriam and Regan Smith, I'm Chuck Bush, reminding you to hop out there in that clean air, chase down the leader. We'll see you next week back in the pack here in the Dirty Air.